Ohai. Sabile, the city in the Tulsi region of Latvia. Unlike Kandava, located on the mountain, Sabile hid in the valley of the Abava river, and he can be seen only when already I stepped into the city street. As of 2006, Sabile's population made 1720 people. More than 1,000 years ago in the neighborhood of Sabile bodices lived, what excavation at the Russian cemetery testifies to. In historical sources of Sabile it is for the first time mentioned in 1253, but much earlier there was a strengthened Lotkershi with the settlement. Approximately at the end of the beginning of the 14th century, the German feudal lords constructed here the lock at which the settlement began to be formed. At the time of the Kurland Duchy of Sabile, Kandavski Hauptmann operated. At Kotkardaketler in Sabile the first school is created. The settlement strongly suffered from the Polish-Swedish wars. In 1703 Swedes razed it practically to the ground. In 1710 plague epidemic also caused to the escaped population a heavy loss. During rule of the Duke Jacob, Sabile turned into craft shopping center. Here worked a ducal serf Katsky manufactory, the metal foundry. But because of continuous wars and Sabile's epidemics, I decayed. In 1822 in his vicinities peasants' revolts because of the increased corvée burden broke up. In the middle of the 19th century Sabile became the brisk economic center. Here worked hard goods skinners. Only Tukums and Jelgava surpassed in the volume of a dressing of Sabile. In 1897 Sabile's population totaled 1680 people. Sabile's inhabitants took active part in revolutionary events of 1905. Meetings took place here. For suppression of revolutionary movement the train with troops was sent, however it returned to Tukums because in the neighborhood of Sabile Stensky fighters occupied separate pieces of a railway track. On December 28 in Sabile there arrived the retaliatory expedition, 2 horse squadrons with 2 guns. In Stransky Pines revolutionaries Wolf and Kern were shot. After suppression of revolution in the neighborhood of Sabile, groups of Forest Brothers acted. During World War I, a part of inhabitants of Sabile was removed from native places. Since 1915 in Sabile the German occupation began. At the beginning of 1919 the Soviet power, which carried out a number of transformations, was established here, but already on March 14 the German Landwehr occupied Sabile. Many Soviet activists were killed at a chapel of the Baron Brinken, the sacrificial mountain. Upon termination of the civil war in Latvia, Sabile was a part of the Republic of Latvia. I acquired the rights of the city of Sabile in 1917. In 1927 Sabile's borders expanded at the expense of lands of 2 neighboring estates. During the First Republic of Latvia in Sabile several small industrial enterprises worked. After the beginning of the German occupation in 1941 270 civilians, generally Jews, were shot at the Svensky mill, which was approximately in 6 km from Sabile. Transport. Through Sabile there passes regional Ligas Highway P, Kandava Vega. Among local highways Kabila should note V, Sabile and Vidistan, Sabile Putzes. Sites. One of Sabile's sites, the Wine Mountain, the height. height 33.5 meters over Above river level, on which the most northern vineyard in the world is located. In the period of board of the Livonian Award in the 16th, 17th centuries, on a slope of the right coast of Above, extensive vineyards were stretched. Sabile wine was highly appreciated in all Meadowlarks courses. Courland. It was even shipped outward. However, in the next years vineyards decayed. On the present Wine Mountain, on a terrace of the right slope of the valley of the Above river, near the ancient Kirchsee ancient settlement, the first wild grapes were landed in 1937. Now on the area about 1.5 hectares, about 200 types of grapes grow. On the right river bank of Above, between two breaks, the Kirchsee ancient settlement towers. It is still not explored. When laying footpaths, iron tips of arrows, silicon axes and other objects of antiquity are found here. From the ancient settlement, the beautiful view of the city and a peculiar Abovsky Valley, the park on coast of the Rumbla River. Above is in flow, and the Muzeransky slope opens. Near the ancient settlement, on the left side from Stenskaya Road at the end of the street, also on the bank of the ancient course, the small hillock is seen. It is Veselneo, or sacrificial, the mountain, the ancient cult place Kirchsee. Feudal lords turned them into the place of an execution of rebellious peasants, constructed gallows. Now in the past the gloomy place was chosen by skiers. The monument of architecture of the 17th century, the Lutheran church constructed in Romance style, is nearby located. The church department is sustained in Baroque style. The wood carving decorating it and also two candlesticks are included in the list of monuments of art. Benches are made in Gothic style in the second half of the 19th century, and an altar in Pseudo-Empire style in 1876. The altar picture of the artist Wolf, crucified on a cross, in 1861 is brought from Dresden. On the right coast of Above, the Park of Culture, broken in 1955, stretches. From the street Ventspils to the avenue of lindens, maples, ash trees, birches and other trees conducts. Following on this avenue, we appear in Jan Sabile. In 2 kilometers below the bridge through Above, the sandy river bank reminds the Riga beach, therefore Sabile's inhabitants nicknamed Sabilski Beach. For Jan Sabile, the papilionaceous mountain which overgrew pines rises. The beautiful view of Above's valley opens from Kumermansky and Kortsky slopes. They overgrew a linden, a hazel grove, an osier bed. On the Kortsky slope also aspens, fir trees and crabs grow. In the direction to Abovsky Falls the coastal wood begins. In the direction the picturesque falls are disposed to Koldiga in 4 km from the Sabile center. Abovskaya point. Its height -2.53 m. Near falls the right coast of Above, flat, overgrown with an alder. Between Sabile and falls the Above river flows on the wide valley. At falls on the right coast a river sleeve, being bent, I formed the Gypsy Island. The Sabilski sulfuric source sits into 2 km from the Sabile center, opposite to Trubeshi, on the left coast of Above. His water, slightly reddish shade, contains compounds of iron. Behind the sports ground, between the city and a sulfuric source, in Above's bend so-called Sabilski Egypt is located. There is above, like the Egyptian Nile, flooding banks, leaves a thick layer of silt after water recession. In this area the big burial ground of bodices, the so-called Russian, or Swedish cemetery is located. Archaeologists studied 25 burials. There is silver and bronze jewelry, iron tips of copies, crocks of pottery and other objects relating to the 10th–11th centuries of our era are found. Rombla falls into about 0.2 km below Abavsky Bridge, forming the small island into Abava. This small rivulet with a stony bottom, beginning in the Remesky swamp, joins the Brinksky Lake and then, following from him, reaches Abava. Rombula's waters washed a ravine with steep slopes. In the territory of Sabile on coast of the small river the Bulsky Park with a beautiful grove stretches. There is a monument of architecture of the 80th years of the 18th century, the chapel of the Baron Brinken, built in style of classicism with signs of Baroque. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.